welcome, MChem Slovakia. I'm very happy to welcome you here at our webinar with Seesame about leadership, communication and reputation after COVID-19. My name is Zuzana Totova. I will be here on behalf of MChem with you, and I would be very happy to also introduce Michaela Benedigová, the Managing Director and Partner at Seesame, as well as Peter Jančárik, Head of Social Impact Team and Partner from Seesame, who will be delivering this very interesting workshop for you today. Just very briefly to outline you the structure of this workshop is that we are going to be in this meeting. This is basically the main session, but after a while we will divide all of you into two groups, two breakout sessions. You will receive an email with the link to join this breakout session when the facilitators will tell us when to send it. And then we will again come back to this main session. So basically you don't close anything, you just leave it as it is, and it's go on hold. So you only click on the link that you will receive, and then you will come back to this main session after you finish your group work. More in detail, it will be explained to you by the facilitators, Michaela and Peter, and I'm happy to give them the floor. So the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Michaela Benedigová. Thank you very much, Zuzana, for organizing this and for the introduction. As Zuzana said, I'm heading Seesame, the communication consultancy, and also Seesame is a long member of MChem for more than 10 years, and I serve for the second term as a vice president of MChem. So I'm very happy to share with our members, the CEOs, HR, and communicators, this topic, which is very dear to me, on the reputation management. At Seesame, we have a very professional practice in employee communication and leadership communication, and also we went through the same process and through the same experience as many companies through the COVID-19, which really proved where we are and how we stand. So we will be very happy to share our experience as well. May I ask you maybe for the beginning to share your cameras so we see at the screen who is with us?
Just show us your faces for a while.
Yeah, show us for faces for a while. I would like to welcome two of my colleagues. Hi, Henyo.
Henyo, hi, good to see you.
David and Alexandra, who will be helping us with taking the notes. And yeah, and the rest?
No cameras.
No cameras.
Maybe they are in their pajamas, you know. So.
Okay. We don't mind anything you wear.
Yeah.
We are totally okay with that.
Hello.
Hello, good to see you.
Good to see
so
you.
we have real people on the other side. That's really good to know.
Zuzka, how many of us are we?
We have 10 participants so far.
10 participants so far. Okay.
So let's see if somebody else joins.
Yeah, that is probably.
Okay, so today the aim of the webinar is to go through the experience of COVID-19 in leadership and from the reputation point of view, to see what went wrong and what was good, and to learn something of it. It's gonna be about sharing about the data, because data is very important on taking decisions, also on reputation. Even it seems to be very emotional, about good practices, like mutual discussion and some practical examples. And for the beginning, maybe let me share the screen with you. Is this?
Mm-hmm.
This is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you see the PowerPoint? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Would you like to add something?
Not really. Maybe we should start with the self-test.
Yeah, we should start probably with sharing the agenda and wait for a moment because we are still waiting for some participants, Zuzana. Okay, let me go through the agenda. At the beginning, as Peter said, we prepared for you the quite a special thing, the Seesame purpose meter. So what is the self-test? What is your experience and how well have you done through the COVID-19 crisis? After that, we will be sharing some data on the global reputation data, also some data from local market. As Peter says, it's gonna be sort of the local confusion. At Seesame, we've been running together with the agency MN-Force the projects How We Are in Slovakia, Ako sa máte Slovensko. And we have quite interesting data, how people perceive the COVID-19 crisis, how they engage with the decision of the government, and how they perceive the companies and their actions during the crisis as well. At 10:30, we will break to the two breakout groups, one facilitated by me and one facilitated by Peter, where we will discuss some your practical examples, practical experience from COVID-19 crisis, and we'll speak about making the recovery or restart plan, however we feel it. And then with some notes from the discussion, we will come back to share into the main group and talk about practical guidelines how to design your restart or our restart plan in the communication and reputation. So that's basically the agenda.
Yes, that's right. And it's time to wake up and to run a short self-test for you. So Zuzana will share with you the link to a short self-test. It will take you not more than 2 minutes. And it's a short quiz. We call it Seesame Purpose Meter, and it should test your how you went through the COVID-19 crisis. And we are really excited to see the results.
You will find the link here in the chat function for those who basically don't know.
We can now stop the video, maybe. Stop the sharing for a moment. Yes, it's quiz.tryandtrack.com. It's already in your chat, so feel free to open the chat and we'll wait for 2 minutes until you go through the self-test.
Yeah, don't be shy and be honest. We are not going to evaluate the individual results.
We can't see your names, don't worry.
So we will see only the aggregated results after completion.
No, we can see that you are going through the test already.
Are they?
Yes, we already have first results. We'll see.
It's 15 questions, it's quite easy. Let us know when ready to the chat. So how much time you need.
And keep your result screens on, so we are curious how you scored in the self-test. So if you are not too shy, just feel free to share with us how you fared through the quiz.
Are we done?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Only for the final course. Who is done? Bronya.
Bronya is done.
How did it go? What is your score? Erika.
Don't ask.
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Okay, hello. So I scored 15 out of 15.
Wow.
Wow.
Very good.
I scored 14th out of 15.
Fantastic.
Excellent. We have an excellent group. If anyone else is willing to share their score, we can see only aggregated results, so we can't see your individual scores.
Yeah. Do you think we can proceed?
Is anybody else going through? Is anybody unhappy with the result?
Something, what surprised you? Or the question you were like hesitating that what is the right answer? What we see from the aggregated results is that the employees are sometimes, in some cases, you don't believe or you are not sure that if your employees really are able to define the brand purpose. And yeah, that's actually the proof of concept that this is the right title of the webinar.
Probably you as leaders and communicators, you are pretty confident, like most of you, like 9 people answered that yes, you can define your brand purpose in 2 or 3 sentences. However, most of you, also 8 out of 12, answered that your employees can't define that. So we suspect that there might be some sort of internal communication problem. You have a strategic communication role within the company, which is really cool, like most of you. Your brand purpose really helped your organizations, and most of you have done something for the community. So we have a pretty skilled group over here. Mm-hmm. And it didn't take you that long to react to COVID-19. Like most of you responded in less than a week or in 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks is a bit longer, but it's still fine. You all communicated your results to your employees, to external audiences, but only half of you measure key reputation drivers. Mm-hmm. And you are split, right? Half with the recovery plan. So only half of your organizations have a COVID-19 recovery plan. So it's really good that we have this workshop today, because we will be practicing making a recovery plan. So those of you who have a recovery plan in place, you can share it with the rest of the group, and those who don't have it, you can just take notes, and you will have it ready by the end of this workshop.
Wow, so, that's quite optimistic.
Yes, we have to be aiming high. So thank you very much. It's really cool that you went through this short self-test. And now back to the data.
Yeah, back to data, and
so this is you. So let's see how rest of what global numbers and local figures show us. As Michaela already mentioned, we see some global reputation data versus local confusion, because we see that Slovaks are pretty confused what to believe, who to trust after the COVID-19 crisis. So first of all, Edelman Trust Barometer special report on brands and coronavirus showed that the most trusted spokespeople in the world are obviously doctors and health authorities. This is something that we also see in Slovakia, like people always turn to the specialists, the experts when in the times of crisis. But we also see that brands' technical experts and brand CEOs are one of the most trusted authorities. Also brands' employees, and what's really interesting, small influencers, not the big ones. The big ones scored lower, as you can see in the very end of this tale. and celebrities score the worst. So in the times of crisis, we see that people really tend to turn to the real authorities, not the fake authorities, which is kind of good. And also the brands are a really good mouthpiece and really good influencers as well. The worst, this was the good news. The bad news is that in the same survey, CEOs ranked last in performance when people were asked if how each of these groups was doing an outstanding job meeting the demands placed by the pandemic. CEOs scored the last. So we see that the CEOs didn't really deliver. So we see some space for improvement. And at the same time, we've seen in terms of reputation drivers during the crisis, customers cared less about financial performance or product of the company, whereas reputation drivers like the quality of workplace, so how the brands are behaving as employers, corporate citizenship, so how the brands are doing as corporate citizens, as well as how ethically the companies are run. So good governance showed to be one of the key reputation drivers during the crisis. You wanna comment on that?
Well, I think that all of the audiences or the target groups, employees, customers, but also the government were really observing the brands and the companies, how they behave during the crisis. So the public scrutiny during the crisis was much harder or more demanding. This is what we saw,
yeah.
And the people were more critical to the brands, that how they behaved, but we will be speaking about that even after.
Yeah, we have some bits and pieces also from RepTrack Institute that tracks reputation globally for more than 20 years. They learned that people have forgotten what you stood for before the crisis, and they will remember how you behaved in the crisis. This survey was done in the midst, in the peak of the corona crisis. So we can, in the breakout session, we can discuss if you agree with that. But what they learned, what the researchers learned in the corona crisis is that they don't really remember how you behaved before the crisis. They only cared about, or they mostly care about, how you behaved as a brand, how responsibly you behaved during the crisis. What does that mean? Brands that helped communities scored higher in reputation, and the customers were more prone to buy their products. So it was not only about being nice, but also about being wise and being also in terms of your business, it really proved to be good. And brands that took only advantage of the crisis to drive up their profits, so they were just trying to, scout prices or only trying to sell more products. We could see that the customers actively discouraged. So not only they scored lower in reputation drivers, their customers discouraged their peers from buying the brand's products. So it was really unwise to only try to drive up profits during the crisis. So this was global data. Let's turn now to local data. As Michaela mentioned, we run a series of surveys with the Slovak Academy of Science and MNForce. And in Slovakia, when it comes to trust, we see very similar results. Scientific institution, military, and central crisis team scored the highest in terms of trust, which is good. The scientific institution, there is only one problem, the question which ones, because you can see, we could see some controversial scientists talking a bit of conspiracy theories as well. And for most of the people, it's really difficult to distinguish whom to trust, which scientist is reliable. So on the one hand, we are happy that the scientific institutions score so high. The problem with this figure is that they don't really know which ones to trust, and sometimes they are misled by some fringe scientists, which is also shown in the next slide. as many as 40% Slovak think that the coronavirus had been created in a lab and spread intentionally. So on the one hand, they trust the authorities, and on the other hand, they believe that they are being betrayed by the authorities, or there is some conspiracy behind the scenes going on, which shows the confusion. And the further distrust we can see in the fact that only 41% of Slovaks would vaccinate against, if a vaccine against COVID-19 was available, only 41% would vaccinate. This is data from May. In June, we already seen that this is further declining, so only 25% would vaccinate. So we can see that there is a bit of distrust. They don't believe vaccines work. They don't trust pharma companies, that they are honest with them, and so on. What's even more worrying, this is the Transparency International data, that every 1 in 5 Slovaks don't trust official COVID-19 figures. So there is a pretty big chunk of people who don't even believe the coronavirus figures coming from the official sources. So this further reinforces the problem with the mistrust.
Yeah, and I take over. The Reputation Institute, which is one of the like biggest think tanks globally in the area of reputation research, formulated before the COVID-19 crisis like 10 reputation trends, which will matter in the reputation management and in the creating the topics for the conversation with the different audiences in 2020. So I would like to share them with you, because it's a very good inspiration about what you should be talking about with your, especially employees, but also customers and partners, and maybe with the authorities or regulation authorities and communities. So apart from data technology, climate change, which are like the obvious ones, we can see the discussion which came to Slovakia, brought by Maroš Kramar recently, about the equality. When I was talking about CEO activism a year ago, I said that probably the Me Too has not arrived to Slovakia that strongly so far, but it recently changed. And why it recently changed? Because it was in the TV that one of the national TV broadcasted the situation which created the discourse, and because it was the actor and someone who is quite likable by the people in Slovakia, it somehow divided the nation, I would say. Mm-hmm. For example, we had a family event during the last weekend. We had a quick discussion on this. And the girl, I would never say that, wasn't like somehow touched by Maroš Kramar, and she said, well, this could be a sort of the compliment. And but by saying that, I would like to say that the equality is the topic in Slovakia and will be the topic in Slovakia in the discussion for the future. But I would like to highlight other three reputation drivers. One is, which is quite topical for the workshop today, is the higher purpose. That people expect companies to do much more than just money making, to deliver something more than just the product, embrace cultural values, and somehow transform the values to the products, to the services, and to their behavior to the target groups. The second one is the very high level of mistrust in the big institutions. By big institutions, I mean the governments, and the governmental institutions, media, but also the businesses, mainly the big corporations. And when I see the list of the companies, and also speaking about the members of the MGM, we all live a sort of the class effect, that the corporations are seen greedy, and the part of the world which we don't, or the people don't trust. On the other side, it's a sort of the opportunity, not only during the COVID-19 crisis, but also in this crisis, the brands have sort of the opportunity to establish like the more level of trust with their audiences, take the responsible actions, and be transparent in what they do and how they think, and in what they believe. And the third one is the CEO activism. In most of the corporation, there is still a policy not to take the stand to the societal issues and the sort of the critical or dividing topics. But from the research, we know that the customers and people and especially employees expect from the CEOs to take a stand, to say where they are, what they stand for, and what their values are, and behave as a role model, as an example for the company. So that is the neutral position. So we will see how the situation evolves. Doesn't work anymore. Respondents who perceive the companies to have a purpose, like a purpose we can trust in, they are willing to give the companies much more support in very important decisions. For example, if the company wants to invest in the community, build the new factory or new facility, 90% of the respondents say that they would support the company with the excellent purpose, which they see is really being executed to build the company or the facility in the neighborhood. More than buying the product is recommending the company or saying something positive, because or work with the company. So this is also one of the very important decisions, to recommend or to work for the company. Buying products and give the benefit of doubt if something goes wrong. This is pretty important, because when the company has a good reputation and quite good level of trust, and then something wrong happens, because we are not like immune to the mistakes. So the customers as well, the employees, are much more likely to give us the benefit of doubt if they consider us as a trusted company, or than if they don't consider us as a trusted company. And the base of establishing the trust is transparency, because we believe in the institutions, in the models which are transparent, and transparent for us, we can read and we can understand. And we don't trust the institutions, companies or whatever, which it's complicated, we cannot navigate, we can't understand the principles and the values on which the company or the institution is built. Therefore, the transparency and the honest communication throughout any of the crises or throughout any of the change of the process it's truly the fundamental for establishing the trust. And we could see it through the COVID-19 crisis, those companies who were able to communicate quickly, to communicate transparently, and have a sort of authentic communication, not just the corporate world or something what came from the headquarters, or something what is generic to all the groups, that those companies were much more trusted. Let me say a few words that what the purpose is. Here on the screen you can see two definitions of the purpose, but both of them, the basis is what they French say is the raison d'être, or reason for being. Of course, the very basic purpose of the company is the product or services, so where we are here for. And every company or every entrepreneur has to make money. Otherwise, we don't have a raison d'être in the business world. But it's not enough for the trust of not only the customers but mostly of the employees. We need to have much more. The employees can believe in. I would say that from my experience, the purpose very often come from the workshops or from the communication agency as us, and on the paper it could appear very generic. But what is important that how we are able to communicate it and to deliver to mostly to the employees and to the customers, of course, as well, and to what extent we are really living it. Let me give you an example that, for example, at Seesame, our brand purpose is the meaningful communication, that we are helping our client to make their communication and their conversations with their audience meaningful. That's one very important thing. And the second very important thing for our brand purpose, that we want to help Slovakia to be a better place to live. And with the courage, we found the courage in ourselves for being an active actor in the societal changes. So, and that's why we established a social impact team. We take the stand, we do the research, and somehow we don't hide, as many of the communications agencies do.
Fight disinformation.
Yeah.
Fighting
sure.
disinformation is one of the issues that we found.
The hoaxes and disinformation. And it really helps a lot, and it proved to be like the good thing also during the COVID-19, because we were able quite quickly to get into, for example, disinformation area, talking to our clients and doing the research how the disinformation is perceived and to what extent it is dangerous in taking the decisions and distributing sort of the mistrust and uncertainty among people. So also our employees believe in that and know where we stand for and how useful we are actually in this area. Yeah, and let me now share with the two good local performance. One is Kto pomôže Slovensku, when Pixel Federation, Curaprox, Amazon, and we were...
Komerční banka, we have Komerční banka.
Yeah, Komerční banka, many of AmCham members, because we've been communicated with them throughout the process. Established a very informal sort of the movement or initiative Kto pomôže Slovensku, very agile and very flexible initiative, which was able to help the healthcare professionals and first responders to provide them with the very much needed protection measures as face masks and respirators in the time when the state was not able to deliver. And the atmosphere and agility and ability to make the things happen was really very unique in this initiative. At the end of the day, we created a brand. Seesame was also part of it. We were taking care about communication, and the initiative raised more than 1.3 million euro, and was delivering during the 4 weeks the protective measures to really entire country. From the research, we know that the customers and the responders really were reached by this initiative. Not only those who became donors as well, but people really engaged with the initiative and were able to mention this as a good example from the corporate world. Second good example is Martinus. I must say that I'm really following Michal Meško from Martinus for a couple of years. How honest and authentic he is in the leadership communication with his employees. And during the COVID crisis, he was really totally transparent with the employees from the day one, able to share that all of the uncertainties they have about their business, their stores, and how the situation can evolve. On the other hand, he was able to share sort of the optimism that the company will handle it. He was like courageous enough to go to give an interview to Zuzana Hanzelová, where there are not many like business leaders who do so. And also they were not like shy to comment also in many societal and political issues. Would you probably comment then? The Martinus, he's really a sort of the market leader in terms of the values. So they started the initiative with the other bookstores or throughout the Slovakia to help them to go through the COVID-19. Maybe Peter, you have more data on this?
On this? Yeah, they're basically trying to kick the whole or restart the whole industry by partnering with, like, offering their books in other bookstores.
Yeah. And then one example from web support. There is web support CEO, and in the presentation there is a link. Yeah. On the or we will share the link with the video of Jan Cifra. It's example from the IT company where the audiences were mostly the employees, in the millennials, we can say. Mm-hmm. And also he was very transparent in reflecting how the companies was doing through the crisis. Being able to assess the needs of the community. Also, they were part of one of the supporters of Kto pomôže Slovensku, and also what I find very important, that many of the leaders really failed to share the optimism. Or when they shared the optimism, it wasn't the optimism like with the sort of the proof of concept, that it was not authentic. And I find in this video maybe the sharing of the optimism and hope that we will go through this change and we will face whatever stays in front of us. This I find very important. And at Seesame, one of the initiatives which we took was that we want to accompany our clients and our partners and people who are in our professional community, that how the COVID crisis will impact their communication. because also that how we deal with the uncertainty. So therefore we've been publishing free of charge all our results and know-how on through our social channels, and yeah, the reaction and the feedback from our clients was very good. We decided, okay, we stayed home even before the schools were closed. On one hand, on the other hand, we said we are going to give a lot of our knowledge and experience going through the crisis for free to the market and to our friends, to engage them and to support them in sharing how we can get through this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On this level.
Yeah.
We have a small change, by the way, since we have less participants that we planned, so we will stay in the main breakout room, and it will be only 10 participants. So we will not split into breakout rooms, and we will stay in one group.
Okay.
If you are fine with that.
Yeah, I'm very
okay.
fine with
It's
that.
only 10 people. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
So what do we see from the data? Maybe Peter, you can give more comments on that. We see that the COVID-19 somehow leveled the ground for the brands. For example, from the research, we know or we learned that also the companies which with the questionable reputation, let me put this as a JNT or a JNT real estate. They were very active during the crisis and donated to the state the thousands and thousands of the web masks. And in the public conversation, I was very curious that how if the people in Slovakia will buy it, if the authorities will buy it. We saw from the research that people really approved it, and this is and said that this is something what they expected from the big company. So the COVID-19 was a sort of the fresh start or the opportunity for the companies when their reputation was not like perfect or not perfect in all the reputation drivers or the reputation criteria to start by doing something really big, and JNT was one of the examples.
Running late.
Yeah, running late. So
yes,
we are
running a bit late.
in the breakout session.
That's
now.
that's the bad news. The good news is that we don't really need to split because it's only, as far as I know, 10 or 8 participants over here. So we will stay in the main room, and we don't need to make the presentation, but we would like to discuss with you a couple of questions. And it will be time to make your own recovery plan. So not in groups, but we will stay in this main room. We would like to reflect with you on the corona crisis. What worked in your companies, your brands? What could you do better, maybe? And how would you approach the recovery? So how are you going to carry on from now? What kind of steps are you already taking or you will be taking in the upcoming weeks or month? And what will be your main guiding principles? So now it's time to open the floor to you.
Yeah.
And we don't need to run the presentation for each group since we are only in a single group, but we will be taking notes and then summarizing it afterwards.
So we have only 6 people, yeah?
Okay.
Good.
So we will stop the screen sharing so we can see you. So if anyone is willing to share their thoughts, how they reflect on the corona crisis, please turn on your camera or at least your mic.
No one?
We should give prizes for the first one.
Yeah, definitely. No one is willing to share, or they don't hear us. Okay, then let me share probably in practical examples what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
At the very beginning, first of all, we decided very early, like before the current the núdzový stav, how we call it, was state emergency was introduced to stay home. So it was from I think from 10 of March or something like that, very, very early. And I have to say I'm not very much believer, or I wasn't very much believer on the home office. And as a leader, I was quite stressed at how we are going to manage our business where we are not in the office. But for the security or safety of our employees, because we didn't know what is going to happen, we decided we all stay home. We closed the office. We only had one colleague going every single day to the office to answer the calls and to help us to scan the things and give us a technical support, so we all can work from the home. The second very important thing was that how we keep together and how we manage the uncertainty and fear and of my colleagues. So we agreed to have at the very beginning we had the all staff calls almost every day or every single day, and every team had a wake up call and planning session, daily planning session at 9 o'clock in the morning. So from the very beginning we started to build the structure and the habits how we work from home. And by getting a couple of days of experience, we developed together the rules how we work from home with respect to the team and with respect to our clients. The key question was that how we stay relevant to our clients. And that was the main topic of the conversation, that this is the environment where our clients live in. It's quite unpredictable. There is a lot of uncertainty that we start thinking and brainstorming with our clients how we can stay relevant and help them to deal with the uncertainty at all fronts. That was the beginning. At the end of the day, we didn't need to take any like dramatic measures in our business models and like remuneration. But when I communicated very honestly all the uncertainties and scenarios, what would we do and what would be the principles on the decision making if we get into like difficult situation.
Mm-hmm. What's really good, but this was in the time of the crisis, but we've seen that some of these measures that we took during the crisis, we are probably here to stay with us. For example, we saw that, as Michaela said, that she no longer believes that home office is just a vacation in disguise, and it's real work. So we are quite happy about the fact that we are going to have probably more home office, because it showed that for certain type of tasks we are maybe more efficient from home. Also, the daily updates are probably staying with us, but this is more like technical stuff. But what was really also pushing us forward in the crisis, that we reconsidered our value proposition, that we need to redefine what is our value, just to put it bluntly, what are our clients willing to pay us for. So we really had a really good discussion, trying to come up with a refreshed value proposition. But we have a 7-point plan, so maybe we can share the
No, I would say I think that was someone to share. I see, for example, Henyo, some of our friends. So can you reflect somehow?
Sorry, Do you hear me, Michaela?
Yes.
I have some problems recently. The thing is that I have a question first. Do you think that do you see differences between the foreign companies operating in Slovakia and, let's say, purely Slovak companies in respect of response to the COVID-19 crisis towards the customers or the employees, or there is no line between the foreign-owned companies or privately owned companies and maybe public companies and purely Slovak owned companies? And my remark to your previous comments is that of course the situation or the approach may be different regarding from the perspective of the impact of the operation of the companies. In our case, for example, it was not we didn't deal with the issue of stopping the operation at all. At the very beginning, we have to manage how to transfer our entire call center to the flats and houses of the employees. So to ensure that more than 100 people have a good connection from their homes and being able to deliver and to answer the question of the customers via our call center. So the entire almost entire company was on a home office. There was no previous rules for that, but I have to say that the CEO reacted very swiftly at the beginning. So we stopped to go to the offices as of 16th of March, and we returned on 1st of June. And from our perspective, what is important now is how to manage or how to find a good balance between our financial sustainability and, or let's say, financial stability, if we take into account the predictions of the National Bank or the European Union of the economic impact of the crisis, and at the same time how to secure a good economic outcome for this year, and at the same time, on the other hand, how to provide our customers with with the solutions which will take into account the long-term relationship with them, and not just to stick to very strictly and to let's say some contractual arrangements, and also how to provide employees, or how to learn some lessons regarding employees. So from this perspective, so our situation was quite different, and maybe we will face more issues in the autumn this year, as far as the impact of our customers is concerned. So we survived. We didn't need to stop the operation as such. We just needed to close down our 19 customer centers around the country. But still, the call center was working as usual, and the customers didn't see any difference.
What I, for example, heard, or as a customer, what I was able to engage with was the message that if the customers are not able or just forget to pay their bills, you are not going to interrupt the delivery of the
definitely definitely. It maybe from at the very beginning, as it was very interesting, and it was excellent to see the how people see the companies during the crisis. I mean, this the crisis resulting in how people will perceive the brand after the crisis. So it's very important, and I think that we could do more as a company, of course. But yeah, maybe we'll learn some lessons from that. But yeah, there was a decision that especially with household customers, I mean people, we didn't really stop any delivery. So we were really prepared to find the solution for them. And it is similar with the industrial customers. So not, as I mentioned, not to stick just to contractual arrangements, but to try to find some solutions together with them, exactly because taking into account that many of them are our customers or clients for a long time, and it is more important to keep them than to have strictly follow the rules or the contractual terms and conditions.
Yeah, what is interesting, what you just said, it's more like the rational reason for not stopping the deliveries, but I feel it as a customer that it was very compassionate from the from the company, and I wouldn't expect that, and it pleased me in positive way from the company, the utility company as SPP. So.
Yeah, well, and what is true? One remark. So we also needed to elaborate a little more as lawyers, maybe, and also then to deliver this message to the managers of the company, is the fact that I think that what will be the one very small piece of a small result among the overall picture resulting from the crisis as such is the fact that many companies being in the US or in the European Union is the concept of social responsibility, because the classical CSR is more about, very often, more about PR, but a responsible business conduct concept maybe will be more relevant in the future. I mean that you just not see as a economic value, or I mean the making money as the only driver for the company, but as there was a unprecedented crisis at this time in the country or in the whole European Union, on the world, the companies needed to really think how to react in certain situations. So this was our reaction, but it was also reflected, despite the fact that we didn't want to publish it or make it really publicly available. We needed to manage also some prices development in Slovakia. So, but we decided that as a exactly this responsible business conduct concept should be applied maybe in some more innovative way, and take really the circumstances into account, and not just to follow what economics say.
Thank you very much for sharing, Henyo. Anyone else? I see some participants from the shared service centers or business services. So I would like to hear something that was definitely the big change, that you had to start working from home. How you kept the employees close to the brand and to the company values. Is anyone willing to share?
Hi, this is Angelos.
Hi.
Yeah, as you said, from shared service, and actually our clients are someone inside from the company, so we don't have direct clients from outside world, let's say. And specifically talking I will talk for our department, where we are working and planning the productions of our products. And the major purpose was to continue doing our business really non-stop, especially when we're talking also for products that were needed for the market, like hand sanitizers or liquid soaps were products that were booming in this period. And it was not only the purpose from a company or any similar company to continue producing them, but also it was as a, let's say, side effect or a need from the market to have enough supply and stock of these products. The affection of or let's take it from the beginning. Also, our company, I think within 1 week, it was around 10 or 13th of March. It seems so past for me already that month, and I don't remember which date exactly. We switched to voluntary going into the office, and also to strongly recommend to stay at home. So from a purpose of some home offices allowed, we turned to completely, I would say, whole company working from home. The challenge was to keep our business going, to serve all departments around, and to keep on going. It seems successful, and also we see a new era for the future, that we will have more home offices. What changed for us? Increased digital meetings, almost zero physical meetings at the office, and we saw that, as previously mentioned, it can be managed also digitally, all this process. The reaction also from the company was to facilitate all employees with extra infrastructure needed, like monitors or whatever needed in order to facilitate and make more convenient the working from home. And now I think we are on the step slowly recovering and moving to the next step, like partially returning and still voluntary to the office. And we see, as I mentioned, the new area that we will have more digital office without knowing how the future will be. But as you mentioned, a prolonged home office is working. Another crisis period like this, we see that we could take over, and let's hope for the best for what is coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. Maybe can anyone elaborate a little bit on how the leaders or CEOs of the company communicated to the employees without like the physical possibility, how often, on what messages, and probably on the what tools, if you use the video or email, or how you get the feedback, collect the feedback, and make sure that the companies are still somehow with you. Because as a leader, I was mostly fighting with the feeling that I'm not close to people, and I'm not getting like enough feedback in what I'm saying, and I'm not able to observe the reaction on the quite important communication I was delivering. That probably anyone has an experience with that?
Having more than or approximately 700 employees, we started to issue how to say it, extraordinary newsletter or something like that, covering all the issues concerning employees. I mean, the situation of the company, how we will proceed later on, and what are the rules for home office, and what are the possibilities for employees regarding the online communication. But there were also some parts from the HR concerning the impact on the home office, or how to manage the home office. I mean, from the psychological point of view, or how to work from home. So it means that some people, from my own experience, tend to work longer because if there is a laptop on the table, so there is no limitation. But also I personally try to tell my people in the team that despite the fact that they are at home, it doesn't mean that there is no working difference between the working time and leisure time and free time. So it was really important, especially at the beginning, to distinguish between the work and free time. And what I personally try to do with my people, to how somehow support them. So not to only have a Cisco WebEx meetings concerning the agenda, the working agenda, but also we started to have some kind of video cafe and just to discuss everything what was in the media and so on. So it depends, of course, on each manager how to support the people in the teams. And CEO really approach mainly the employees through this newsletter sent to all people in the company. I mean, every week. And there was also, of course, the crisis team of the company sitting every week, I think. So just to assessing the current situation and deciding how to proceed and when to reopen the company and so on. So the newsletter distributed to all employees was the main channel of communication. Then in smaller teams, it was up to the managers how to stay in touch with people.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hi, Mishka. It's Zuzana from Henkel Slovensko. Nice to see you both here, and thank you for having this inspirational workshop with us. I can see some of my colleagues online, which is also good to see that they find time also to get inspirations, not just to work. Because as was said, also for us, the communication was like the main struggle. And I know that you also at Seesame had these issues like ASLET, that you do not get enough response from the audience. And this is also what we thought, because I am honored in converted commas to be the member of the crisis management team. So when the crisis happened and it hit us at Henkel very early at the end of Feb, because unfortunately we had the positive case in Vienna and the employee who was in touch with the positive case came to Slovakia. So we had to react very, very early in terms of sending out early communication. So we communicated via email because this is like the fastest and, let's say, the official way how you can approach most of the employees. Of course, the rumor had it all. Then we got addressed by the media because one of our employees, unfortunately, sent this very precious email out. So we also were faced with the situation where we had to really say, hey, are we going to say something to media? Which, as you know, as soon as you say something to media, your employees are the first one to get really scared and share all the rumors because they know better than you do what's going on in the company. So we kind of waited, and it happened on Friday, and the media starts to call me over the weekend, what we say, and basically there was nothing to be said, because the case was that, yes, the person came to our premises, and yes, it was going to be tested. But at the beginning, it took 3 days to get the test results. So till Monday, we did not want to say anything to media, because whatever we would say, it could create panic. So there was kind of end of Feb, us being really like hunted by the journalist and looking for some big story to say. And all of a sudden, our employees came to us and they said, hey, listen, what's happening? We had this positive case in the building. Are we going to evacuate all the building? Are we sending everyone home? So that was the beginning of Corona. And then we tried to calm the situation down all the time, really communicated very clearly with the managers, really in all levels, giving them really like clear info, meaning if we did not have information, we told them very openly, look, we are waiting, we don't know. Yes, this person was here as soon as we have the test. And then luckily on Monday, we got the test results. This person was found negative. But anyway, then we started the steps as every other company, sending majority of employees home, giving them this freedom. We never closed the offices. We really thought about the cases when people are simply not able to perform from home because of the family reasons or really limited spaces in the flat and so on. But in terms of communication, so we communicated via InfoMail very openly. Also, I know that there were established several calls because Henkel Slovensko, basically, we are kind of hybrid in terms that we have this big SSC and then there is this business units, the 3 divisions selling products. So we have the salespersons versus people at SSC being in touch with the entire world, and it also affected their business too. So we also decided to start regularly send the InfoMail. It's like a newsletter. We call it a newsletter. And I know from your Zuzka that they had somewhere the debate about it, and somebody told us, hey, but it's like an online magazine, not a newsletter. We call it a newsletter, but it is not
media.
Yeah. So basically, on weekly basis, we try to include all the relevant information for our employees and also include their voices. They are giving them questionnaire, picking up randomly from them, asking them, how are you handling? Do you have any tips and tricks? And I received various positive feedback on this from employees saying how nice it is to read about other colleagues, what they do, that they have the same struggle like we do. Meaning, yes, I have small children at home and I don't know how to handle. My wife is upset. My partner is telling me I work long hours and my boss is kind of trying to be cooperative, but the job needs to get done. The customers, they need to be served. So all these struggles were like put down in words, and it kind of gave people an encouragement how they could basically cope with the situation. And also, as I said, we tried to do the video with the CEO. So far we were successful only with one that he recorded, and he also was struggling like, oh, me as a CEO now I should like do the selfie video? Are you kidding me? What should I do? What should I say? How should I be really authentic? So that was also one of the communication channels that we tried. And of course we were very active in community, and we tried to really keep the eyes open and help community of seniors, give the products, do the donations, and really see where the help needed to be done. So that was, and then also because of the IT setup of the company we had to move all the communication also to Yammer, which Yammer personally I do not like as a channel, because for me is just losing the track of the communication. The way it's structured, the channel is not very fortunate, but that was the only way how to use and communicate online with employees without using the VPN connection. And I mean, we managed to get some people on board, because usually people are not very keen on using Yammer. They're also busy. So Yammer was like our primary, and still is our primary channel for communication. And there, when you were asking about the interaction, I was happy because I was like the first one really hesitating. Should we go to Yammer? Should we not? Is the newsletter enough? Or InfoMail, is this like enough information? Are we really like balancing this amount of info to employees? Or are we doing the correct thing? Because there was like a silence. We did not get any feedback when we started to send the info mails or these newsletters. Like we heard rumors, or we had the calls with people, but like how many calls per day you can have, right? So as soon as we moved this communication to Yammer, there were some reactions, and I was really happy to see the interaction. And then these people, they are alive and they have feelings, and they can tell us this is good, we are happy, we are not. They also commented, like, for example, we closed the company shop, Henkel shop, where you can get like the products for discounted prices. And people found this very, very unfortunate, because they told us, look, all the drugstores are opened and you guys are closing the company shop. Why? And we told them, yes, look, because health is always priority. And that was really the case. And then via Yammer, they told us, are you going to open this Henkel shop or what? And so we said, okay, good news are coming as the situation developed to better. So Yammer for us was like the tool for having some interaction with employees without like having this direct communication, because some people, they really prefer, as I could see, like just read it and not to be bothered. Yeah. So what you asked at the beginning, that Yammer for me would be the answer. As I say, I do not like Yammer as such, because I think technically it could be much, much nicer. If you look at Facebook and other social media channels, that Yammer is still way, way behind. But unfortunately, that's what we are given in the company and our setup. And that was, and now we're happy that we launched finally our company Facebook. So we'll see how this goes. And also I had doubts whether to launch the channel in Corona times. And then I thought, why not? It sounds crazy, like you launching something in Corona times. And I said, yes, now people are online. There may be more focus. So let's do that. So that's our experience. But maybe some of my other colleagues can add what I said, because they are in teams and they're dealing with people, how they manage to do this Corona crisis.
Thank you very much, Zuzka, for sharing. Anyone, any comments? Yeah, what?
Let's not forget about Henio's question, by the way, if there's any difference between Slovak companies and foreign companies in handling this. To me, the dividing line doesn't go along Slovak or foreign. I mean, I would say it all stems from the leader of the company. It doesn't matter really if it was Slovak or foreign. What do you think?
Depends what is the corporate culture, because I mean we need to be honest, when it's a big corporation with the quite tough or strict information and communication policies, the room for creation and the room for impact of the local leader is somehow limited. So on the other side, I mean, in communication with customers and in using the communication channels like video or of vlogging, it's I mean, there are not that much differences. Of course, those people who are partners and owners and who really would stay with the company, whatever happens, have a more motivation and probably more honest, but also more uncertain throughout the communication. But as you said, I don't see like the line goes if it is. If it is global or local, the line goes that how courageous the leader is and how willing he was to get out from the comfortable zone and to do the things differently. And it wasn't easy.
Yep. Last 9 minutes. Thank you very much for all the comments and ideas. We closely followed you and took notes. So we will after the workshop we will just summarize it and share it with you. And maybe there is one last thing that we would like to share with you, if you will.
Yeah.
And we promise this is the last couple of slides that we are going to share with you. Because we are going through these times with you as well. So what we would like to share with you and then send it to you after this webinar is a 7-point recovery plan or 7-step recovery plan as we are thinking about it. And of course, we will now walk you through the plan. And if you have any comments or questions or you disagree with something, just feel free to jump in. But we are somewhere here, and what we did also in this session was reflection. We need to reflect what you have learned. You mentioned many things that worked well, that maybe you are now better prepared for situations like this. Maybe you've seen also some opportunities when it comes to home office, working remotely, or taking care of your customers that Heather mentioned, trying to tie them by providing some extras. That may be rational, but they also feel pretty emotional to the customers as well.
If I can make a comment on that, I would encourage anyone to ask a lot of questions and collect the data, not only on the business performance, but also how the customers and employees felt throughout the crisis. Because I mean, this was the unique experience when we all were like sort of naked and together with the situation and uncertainty, and there is a room to like for the deeper understanding. So as we did as well, we went through the research, the Survey Monkey question, but quite in depth how our colleagues see or feel themselves, to what extent they feel uncertain. What is their perception of safety, but also what is their perception of our value and our relationship to the customers. We learned a lot, and this was part of the reflection and good base for the planning.
Mm-hmm. Which brings us to the second step. It's about reconnecting with your stakeholders. Who are they? Who matters the most? Are these employees? Like many of you mentioned employees. Like this was for most of you, that was challenge number one. And it's always great to start with them and to keep the good ones, to keep them motivated, to not to lose touch. I mean, this is the bad times really learned us or taught us something. And there are customers, others. Who else matters to you? I mean, it's time for a reconnection. Any comments to that?
No.
We redefine your purpose and value. And this brings us back to the self-test. Like most of you said that maybe your employees are not really sure about what is your purpose. And maybe it's time to reflect on it as well and try to rephrase it, to redefine it. What is your role in society? How do you want to stay relevant? How would you like to stay relevant to your employees? Why they should keep working with you, or how are you going to hire the new ones? You should define your social impact, and this is something for a whole different workshop. So we're not going to go into details, but it's really about what you can help with, and we can help you with that. If you need to, if you wish to define your social impact, we are willing to help you in terms of workshop or whatever you need.
Maybe I would add one comment or practical observation to that. Sometimes, or before Corona times, the discussions with the employees about the vision, mission, purpose, the employees found it boring, or they were very demanding how creative this is gonna be, because everything went well and this was like something what was part of the leadership conversation. But after the crisis, the purpose is much more meaningful. That those questions are important, and the employees are much more likely to listen to us leaders and the communicators, that what we stand for, somehow waiting for the answer to their questions, that are we useful, are we needed, is there a future for us, what will be our value in the future. And this is not like more the sort of the nice to have thing, it's the fundamental things from the night to the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And last but not least, revisit your value proposition. So how would you like to be relevant after the crisis? The fourth one, this is about voicing your values. So we talked a bit about leadership and CEO activism. I know that some of you work for multinational companies when it's maybe more challenging to let CEO or to let local leaders to comment on societal or maybe even political issues. So it's really it depends on your boundaries, but it's definitely, and the data show that it's really worth to share your thoughts and values. But at the same time, you need to be really sensitive and cautious about how to engage in conversation, because there are many wrong ways to do that, and only a few good ones. Rephrase your messages. I mean, strategic communication is part of your companies, as you mentioned. Like in most of the, if you don't have a Stratcom role, it's good to have one. Don't forget that strategic communication is not only about words, but also about deeds. So it's not only about what you are talking about, but what you are actually doing. And having an optimistic narrative. I think it's good to reflect, but it's time to move on, and maybe we will be in autumn, we will be facing even worse epidemic as we've seen. So we don't know. It's still a time of uncertainty, but it's always good to be optimistic. 6, get ready. So make a realistic plan. So if you learned something new and you rephrase, redefine, and revisited everything you did in the first 5 points, make a realistic plan and prepare for the worst and be happy with the best that could happen. And last but not least, and this is something that you should do periodically, is evaluation and measuring. So set your realistic KPIs and follow up on them, because your strategy is only as good as it's being evaluated.
And also in terms of reputation, there is a saying in management: what we don't measure, we don't manage. So I would encourage any of each of the company to find a way how to measure the reputation, somehow divide it to the reputation criteria, where one group are the product ones, and the product ones, of course, you can measure in your market research and customer surveys and even the business results. But there is a social impact group of the criteria as a corporate citizenship, transparency, ethics, how you take the decisions. And here I would encourage you to make some effort to better understand what the expectations of the key actors, your key stakeholders are, in order to plan both the actions you need to fulfill those expectations, and also to find the right words and right messages to convey to convey your brand purpose. So this is still this is authentic and meaningful. And without like knowing what the expectations are and what the language is that people are using in terms of the topics which are close to you, we are not able to do that. We are not authentic, and I mean, not being authentic is it's a really a sin in communication for nowadays.
Okay, it's 11:30 and it's just about time to end. So this is everything from us. If you have any other comments or questions, feel free to ask. We can stay here for a couple more minutes. If you need to go, feel free to go.
Yeah. So any other comments or reflection to what was said? If not, then thank you very much for attending the webinar. It was very good to have you here and to listen that to all the troubles and struggles we had during the corona crisis, and probably to share how we are going to use it to better future in uncertainty. So thank you very much, Zuzana, for supporting us, and I hope we see each other in person soon.
Yeah.
Looking forward.
We will slightly update and share the presentation deck with you with all the data and your group conclusions, as well as the recovery plan that we showed you.
Yeah, thank you very much, both of you.
I'd also like to thank you all for being a part of this workshop, and also thanks Michaela and Peter for your time, for the very interesting insights, and really, like Zuzana said, motivation. So that was very great. As Peter said, we will update basically upload the updated version of the presentation to our website, as well as later the recording of the webinar. So you can find these things on our webpage, and we will be happy to meet you in person very soon as on our events. So we will look forward to see you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye bye.